here from Maryland Association of Youth Service Bureaus. I'm going to be leading the meeting as Judge Davis is away, enjoying himself in England.
He's busy.
He's busy. I hope he takes time to enjoy himself if he's in England. So until we have quorum, we can't really do the minutes of the last meetings. We're just gonna table that for right now and maybe move forward with work group updates. And as you see, we have guests all around who will be doing the presentation today about credible messenger. So welcome to all of you. We're excited to hear from you. So is there somebody here from the processes? Alicia, are you going to give an update?
Susan, are you fine with me providing the update? I think she is. Yes. Okay. So we are continuing to examine reportable offenses. Since our last large commission meeting, we heard from another panel of experts. We've been hearing from a number of panels to gather information and ask questions. And our most recent panel included members of law enforcement, as well as the superintendent of schools for the Department of Juvenile Services. And that was informative. I think we're getting closer to carving out recommendations. So we'll see at the time of the next commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And then there's someone here from the public education.
Yes.
Do you want to present?
Yeah. Eric was in traffic. So good to see everybody. It's good to see everybody who's here. Well, we've kind of done a couple of things over the last minute. Finalizing, we already done it just room, but finalizing the pre-DJS flow chart, but coming up with new ways of presenting that. So we're going to continue to work on that. The biggest thing is to work on a similarly a state's attorney flow chart. So we've got several meetings sort of gone into details, seeing how language is different from how state's attorneys have process cases versus what's on the JS websites. We got into that. All of it so far is leading up to cases being prosecuted in court. So we've gotten up to that point of the flow chart, and we've kind of stopped there. That's as far as we've got. And so we're going to continue to be about that. When's our next meeting? Soon.
Should say June 22nd.
I think we've had a similar experience to doing the with law enforcement state's attorneys. It's been a good conversation. I know it's helped Eric and I learn more about just like how it works, so what happens with basically the state's attorney help us, and hope it's been good from the state's attorney side as well. We expect just conversation.
That's great. Rehabilitative services, is there something? That would be me. So we, Aaron's not here. So we have been working on our recommendations for the new report, and then we are hosting the Credible Messengers here. We had them come and speak to us a few months ago, and they are just doing incredible work and helping to work with young people and move them out of the juvenile justice system or keep them from going into the juvenile justice system. So we thought it would be great for the whole commission to hear about their incredible work and the need for these types of programs throughout the state. So we will be meeting at the end of this month, like a lot of other groups, to again kind of finalize our recommendations for this year's report. And then the prevention work group.
I can provide the update. Absolutely. So since we've met last time, and we had Darielle, I think, was here presenting to everyone at the last meeting, updates on in terms of that project, funding's been secured. We're looking at the questions for the focus group, so continuing to and move forward with that. We're excited about being able to do some more kind of like targeted kind of assessments on the way in which lack of access to food is and just have a very general are impacting youth's decision making regarding to the behaviors that they're engaging with. Because as we've been continuing to do our work, we're really seeing that food insecurity, housing insecurity, access to other barriers of service are really like the upstream drivers for youth involvement. We continue to see that in April when we were looking at the way in which access to reproductive health and other health care can also influence instability at home, but also can create other drivers towards system involvement. In May, we spent time kind of just consolidating, assessing, not voting, but looking at all of the information that we've taken in to kind of identify what some of our key takeaways were from all of the different presenters we've had with last year. And then just last week. I'm like, was that Monday? Was it Monday? It was Monday, wasn't it? Yeah, it feels like it was last week. But it was just this Monday. We did a review of the draft annual section for the adventure group. And we're really excited about it. Got some good feedback and big kudos to Suki and Lindsay for giving us such a great draft to work on. Oh, and the more meeting in September. So we're off.
And then the fatality rule, or what are you reading?
Sure, it's just brief. Our next meeting is July 8th, and now we're going to really develop findings and recommendations based upon the meetings that we had in October, March, and April. So we look forward to a difficult work, but we'll be developing what we need to develop for the review.
So it sounds like all the groups are working really hard, and I really appreciate everyone's efforts in being present at their work groups and really moving the commission forward. I was telling Suki when she and I met just how impressed I am about how much this commission is getting done. I've been on other commissions where we have lots of meetings and we talk a lot, but it's not as productive as I feel like this commission has been in terms of really producing things that hopefully will make system change. And allow our system in Maryland to improve for kids and families. Do we have quorum yet? Almost.
One more, but we can go ahead and talk about it. So we can put their announcements.
Okay, so we were hoping to acknowledge, and we'll acknowledge her publicly. If you see Laura Weathersby, she is leaving the commission, and so we wanted to acknowledge her service for the past 2 years and all that she's contributed to the group. And then her, the person filling that seat will be joining us next month, right?
And our next commission.
At the next commission meeting. And so everyone will get to be the person then. So we want to just thank Laura for her work. And I don't know if you had anything in particular, Suki.
No, she was also a co-chair for the fatality review board group, so we definitely want to thank her for her role there.
Did you want to?
Yeah,
Yes, updates.
I'll talk a little bit about these next few months. So the work groups will not meet for the next few months, July and August, except for the fatality review work group. They do have a meeting in early July. In the meantime, there will be report drafting. There probably will be some finishing emails around the summaries. But in the meantime, there will be some ongoing work with the Center for Livable Future on the food insecurity research that's going on there. We've been speaking with and working with Monique Dixon at the Gibson Bank Center for Race and Law at the University of Maryland around reportable offenses, and we'll be hearing from her researchers in September with that work group with some recommendations around reportable offenses. We'll continue working with state attorneys on their flow chart that actually was just sent over to their association, so we could have some of that similar feedback from different jurisdictions that we had from law enforcement officers. So that was just sent out. Hopefully that will be shared widespread and we'll get feedback on that flow chart, continue to work on that. And the pre-DJS flow chart, we're building out a distribution plan for that, and we'll start doing that in phases as well. And again, of course, this ongoing report writing throughout the summer, so that by the next time this commission meets in August, we will be ready to vote on the final projects. those are kind of ongoing things we've got. So never a dull moment, even though the work groups are going to be a little quiet, the commission will be working hard.
And then the August meeting is virtual.
That is great virtual so that you won't feel like you're still in summer break.
Or if you are on break, you can still enjoy it if you're at home.
Exactly. Want to go ahead and see the, okay.
So we wanted to welcome the members of the Credible Messengers, and we have seats up front for you. Erin Bettinger from the Rehabilitative Services Work Group is running second traffic. So Suki and I will fill in for Erin until he gets here, and leave that up. So let you all come forward. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, move the seats around. If you need. We need 8-foot tables instead of 6-foot tables.
You are.
All right. Oh. Suki's just doing some coordination with the camera so that the folks online can see you all better. Okay, so we have with us today Keisha Brown. Right? Barnes. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I have to adjust my glasses. So you want to just say a few words about where you're from, and then we'll go on with the panel. That way everybody can just introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Keisha Barnes with CM3, Maryland Credible Messenger Program with the Thrive Program for DJS. I started in DC, coming down from the Credible Messenger Program that started in New York under the direction of Mr. Lacey. And so my work starts in DC and now has traveled here in Maryland, loving and supporting our young people.
Thank you so much. Brandon Wilson, did I say your name correct?
Yes. Yes, hi, my daughter named Brandon Wilson. I'm here on behalf of We Are Us. We Are Us is a nonprofit in Baltimore where we engage the community twice a week, and with community engagement, we offer food to the community as well, and then we also are part of the Thrive program as well. And for specifically for We Are Us, I oversee the Stop the Beef Hotline, where we mediate conflict in prisons, schools, or inside the community.
Esau Cornish.
Yes, my name is Esau Cornish, and I am part of the Break the Cycle Hospital Violence Intervention Program at Johns Hopkins Hospital. And basically, our program revolves around addressing social determinants of health, starting first at the bedside after someone has experienced a traumatic experience, such as a firearm injury or a group assault, such as a stabbing. And our approach is trauma-informed and relationship-driven, wherein, we embrace, our population at the bedside, and also we service them, and we also case manage them post-discharge, 12 to 18 months when necessary.
Thank you so much. And Anthony.
Good afternoon. And it's Anthony Muhammad. We've been to Baltimore Broken organization in Baltimore City. Title wise, manager of youth development, specifically at Washington Middle School. Program that's the city site. And I also run our plumbing team at Fred Templeton Elementary School. myself, I am a credible messenger, turning citizen. Fortunately, I was arrested at the age of 15 here in the city of Hartsville. Served a total of 29 years, 7 months, and 29 days. I was released under the Maryland Juvenile Restoration Act. And principally because of my work during my incarceration, mentoring other young men who were serving life sentences. So I had a great opportunity of helping other 15-year-olds not make the same bad decisions I did.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for making time for us here today and speaking to the commission. Do you have the list? Yeah. So once Aaron comes here, Aaron will join us. Aaron's with the School of Social Work. So I'm not as prepared as Aaron would have been for this. So he's just going to open us up for some remarks.
Would you pass that mic, please?
Please. So it's kind of
You can just hold it if you want, or if it doesn't pay you.
All right, good afternoon again, everyone. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the credible messenger work and our mottos that we do stand on the shoulders of giants. As you heard today here with our panels, that some of our credible messengers have shared life experience. But the history of the CNC, the credible messenger mentor movement, our history is that we are credible. Our message is credible. What we share with our young people is credible. And the individuals that are working with our young people are credible. If you think about back at a time where our ancestors, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, they are two credible messengers. They too helped spread the message and ensure that during that time that they made sure that their message was credible. Credible messengers started in New York under the direction of Mr. Clinton Lacey. That's where I ended up learning a lot of the work. My passion because of my life experience and my shared life experience caused me to get into this work. And I was able to come into the facilities of our young people at DYRS. During that time, we would do something called the Cuphead of Peace, where we would have focus groups with those young people, spend the whole weekend in those facilities. Learning a lot about those young people, I saw myself, I saw my brother, I saw my family in those young people, of course, which sparked me to go further in my career to get my bachelor's in administration of justice. I thought I would change some lives and change some policies, and so here I am today working with our young people to do just that. One of the things that I wanted to just kind of talk about here today to open this up is that the answer is in the community, the ecosystem. All of us together working alongside each other will help our community and our young people and our families. One of the components that the credible messenger has added is the family engagement. You feel the home, you feel the child. You know, our young people is not just them. We have to incorporate our families in this movement in order for us to be successful. And so I just wanted to share some of the words of encouragement to you guys in our panel about the ecosystem and how we can work together in order for the success of our young people here today. And that is it, because Aaron is here.
But yeah, we appreciate you setting the framework for what the credible messenger history is and how you were drawn into the work. So thank you. While Aaron's getting settled, I'm just gonna, Aaron, you want to start, or you want me to go ahead and ask the first question? I'll let Aaron.
My apologies, everyone. It was very fun today. So I thank you for giving the overview. So I want to ask folks, what led you to become a credible messenger? And how does your lived experience shape the way that you support youth? Brandon, do you want to start?
Um, the way that I became a credible mentor, it started with me being in prison and having to find the credibility within myself to be able to change my life. And so, after going through a lot of battles, ups, just becoming content with the fact that I'm going to be spending the next 15 years of my life in prison before I'm even become a topic of discussion. That was a hard pill to swallow, So going through that transition, the first just be accepting the fact that this is my reality, and then finding the strength to dig myself out of that physical grave that I was going to spend my life in for the next 16 years, being able to say, okay, I'm inside of a grave because the cell is 6 by 9 in width or size, and the grave, is 6 feet deep as well. So just being able to say to myself, I'm inside of a grave, but there's still life here. And so being able to rebuild my life over time, it gave me the credibility to know that if I can change me, if I can make myself a better person, then I know that I could do the same thing for the next person or the next young man. So that's how I got my stuff with building my life first.
Thank you, Brandon. You want to pass it to Isan? Same question, Isan. What led you to become a credible ambassador? How did your lived experience shape the way that you support youth?
Well, similar to Brother Brandon right here, it was during the time of my incarceration as well. And basically coming to the realization that I almost threw away my whole life for mediocrity. The street life, if you will, thinking it was going to generate one thing, it generated something totally different than what I expected. Getting to the root of, leading to my incarceration, just to be transparent, I know this is not a spiritual platform, but, I was in such a dark place when I was out in the world. I really thought I had my hands tied. I cried out to God and asked, like, I can't save myself. So you got something, your bag of tricks. I think God is a trickster, but I needed it. And less than a week after I cried out and said that prayer from my heart, I was grabbed up off the street with something that supposed to happen a while ago. And I ended up beating that charge, actually, but that was my salvation. I believe that was how God was, get me off the street, get me away from society and my neighborhood, my community, things that taught me a lot of negativity that I accumulated over the years, to begin to clean me up. So by the time I hit the prison system, I was sentenced to 3 sentences, 20, 25, and 8. Graciously, they ran them together, and right away, people expected this certain weeks on those that knew about me from the streets. But I knew God heard my cry, so I really began to work on my life. I said, well, I had hope in my heart, in spite of the years that I was handed down, that something good was going to come out of that. And I began, even while incarcerated, as I was working on myself, I wanted to encourage others, going back to the knowing that I was about to throw away my entire life of mediocrity. And I began to self-reflect. I began to love myself. I began to love others. I began to look at my community and ask questions why, out of all the communities in the city, why these designated communities are the way they are. The communities that I go up from. Why, if I go across the street, there's no drugs, but in my neighborhood, there's drugs, guns, violence, everything you could name under the sun is negative. You know, why when I go out in the county, I don't see liquor stores on every corner, but in my community, they on every other corner. So I began to be interested in, you know, my neighborhood and my setting and my upbringing and why it was like that. You know, and that's where the understanding of social determinants of health came into play. So nonetheless, I began to encourage people, you know, to change as well. That, you know, let them know, man, this street don't have nothing for us, you know, but death in jail. So when I was released, you know, I stayed on track. And I got my first job I ever had in my life when I was 33 years old. I was very happy. It's a minimum wage job. But they in fact told me that I'm not going to be there long. I guess they seen something greater because they knew it was just short time. And had several jobs. I ended up transitioning into Hawkins in 2015 when I came in on an entry level job. And I then transitioned into surgery as a periodic equipment specialist before I came into this line of work as a VIS, a violence intervention specialist. So I came into this position, this gentleman by the name of in Spain. We did counseling work together once upon a time, and he was at the time doing his intern for his master's degree. And he was brought into Hopkins to implement BCHVIP, you know, working alongside, I think Dr. Cooper, Boxdale, you know, some of those names y'all may be familiar with. But he set up the program there for years. He's been really tugging, you know, my jacket, asking me, man, I think it would be great for this work, you know, and I considered it. But I was kind of where I thought I was supposed to have been at the time. And then, you know, years would proceed. Every time I see him, he would say the same thing, years proceed. Then it's like, when I did eventually took the position, I began to have a heart shift, you know, as it relates to this work. Like I've been in this work as you can see as I'm expressing certain things, but stepping in, you know, within a hospital context, you know, I just didn't sense the timing. But I began to have a heart shift, and the pinnacle of all this came when I didn't see Lennon in a while. I began to have a heart shift, and I thought it was time for me to come into this work. But the pinnacle was a friend of mine got killed, Tonio Hurst. And that was like all the confirmation I need, because this was a man that we talked about going home, getting out, doing the right thing, you know, contributing to the community in a positive sense. But he went in a whole nother direction. So when he got killed, you know, it really hurt my heart. And it pushed me over the edge to come into this work. And right after he got killed, I ran into Lynn Spain, which I didn't see in a while. And I just let him know I'm ready. And that's how I became a friend. I didn't know to talk. So.
Perfect. Ms. Muhammad.
What led me here and how does the living experience shape my son's degree? The judge was sentencing mistakenly believed that I was unredeemed, unreformable, and the actions that I committed were unreconcilable. She stated during my sentencing hearing that it was a shame that somebody so young could go so far wrong at such an early age. She stated that she did not believe that education, job training, anything of that nature would ever make me a safe citizen. And in her most condemning remarks, stated her belief that if I was ever released again and had the opportunity to do so, that I would commit these crimes again. But thankfully, the judge who sentenced me was all wrong about me. Because I mean, I sit here today, redeemed, reformed, and completely reconciled with the families of the victims in my case. And 3 years ago, the judge supposed to, the judge who sentenced me, the judge who I appeared before to be released under the Juvenile Restoration Act, said the exact opposite. She said that, in fact, the Honorable Judge Yvette Bryan of the Circuit Court of Baltimore City is by far the toughest judge in the Circuit Court of Baltimore City. Tough but fair. Said at my hearing that in all of her years on the bench, I was the first violent offender who ever appeared before her. That she had absolutely no reservations about releasing that. And her belief in me was based on what I did for 30 years in prison. I didn't spend 30 years in prison sweeping and mopping tears. I spent 30 years in prison building, developing, growing, leading. And the last 10 years of my incarceration, I had the great honor and privilege of serving as the president of the Life Conference, which represents the needs and interests of the population for a certain life sentence. I spent my incarceration sharing with others the lessons that I had learned from my bad decision. And it was actually my sentencing judge remarks that compelled me into what I'm doing, because I was not a repeat violent offender. I had absolutely no criminal history, first arrest at all. And the facts before the judge were completely outside of her characteristic of what actually happened. That was a bad decision. In the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people doing the wrong things, which led to a bad decision. So that lesson, that was my lesson. And I learned it early. In the penitentiary, I learned it early when 3 months into my sentence, youngest person in the Maryland State Penitentiary, serving a life sentence, I'm automatically put in school. I ended up getting my GED 3 months after I landed in the Maryland State Penitentiary. But the light bulb moment for me again was that I ended up getting my GED in the penitentiary a year and a half, 2 years before I would have graduated from high school in Kings Corner Street. So the light bulb moment for me is that I'm ahead of time. If I use my time here wisely, then I can make something of myself. So that's what I did. I spent every waking moment of my incarceration doing something to better myself and better everybody else that was around me, connecting with me, associated with me, so that it eventually earned my release under the Juvenile Restoration Act. And that last 10-year period, just a full circle moment, as president of the Life Conference, I had the great opportunity of hosting the former secretary of this department, Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, Christopher Shedd, on multiple occasions. I had the opportunity to bring him in under the National Crime Victim Rights Week, where every month, every year, during the month of April, we led the entire Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services efforts for victim services during that month. And we brought him in on multiple occasions. So it was that 10-year window period that helped me get a glimpse into the effects, the ripple effects, the consequences on families, on society, communities, right? And during that same 10-year period, my own older brother was the first homicide victim of the year in one of those years. So I learned not just examining my own experiences that brought me to prison, but what my own family went through, and hosted every leading victim rights organization in the state during that 10-year period. We brought them in and talked to lifers about the effects of crime on families, on society, on the community. So learning all of that helps prepare me. This is what led me to the work. So on the day of my release, I'm hired by the executive director of Baltimore Rebels, who was well aware of the work we were doing in prison, right? So I've been working with Baltimore Rebels for 3 years now, since the day of my release, and I've spoken multiple colleges, university campuses, law schools all over the state, because I work for the ACLU of Maryland as well. And I've been here for district before in that capacity under the ACLU of Maryland. So I've traveled the state in sharing the lessons of it. And I take great pride, great pleasure in helping others just not make those bad decisions. Because if we can prevent them from making those horrible decisions, they're not bad people, right? But if they're in a bad circumstance, a bad situation, that leads to bad decisions. So since I know exactly what led me to that bad decision, I can help those that I can reach to not make those same mistakes.
Thank you. And I know Keisha will want to answer the same question.
Very, very similar. It sounds like shared life experiences. What led me to the work is my brother, really my family dynamics. My mother who used drugs, my father who used drugs, and my brother who was out in the street doing some of the similar things. Me being a teenage parent and my parents not having the capacity to really mother or father. And so my brother was traveled through the juvenile justice system, and he ultimately ended up in Beaumont, Texas, where he was stabbed 106 times. And so with my parents not having the capacity to deal with it, their addiction, I had to be grown real fast. As I already thought I was probably. And I had to travel to Texas to see and hear about the things that happened to my brother. And so through his experience and through our experience as a family, just like you and me that are here today, my quest to not have no other young person go through that, no other young person. And so how do I support them? How do I be there? How do I bridge the gap? How do I fill in for them? Is what they're able to become a credible messenger. So today, just like these young men, our shared life experience give us the passion, the wit, the know-how to support our young people, fill in the gap, bridge the gap, and be the support. Oftentimes the brother, the uncle, serve as some of those spaces that these young people lack. And so I just wanted to just kind of share that because I happen to grow up really, really fast and understand what happens in places such as that. It really kind of just motivated and pushed me to want to change laws and make laws and be the support for these things.
Thank you. So before you pass the mic down, what makes credible messengers different from other adults in the system when it comes to building trust with young?
They can identify, they trust us, our stories, our message. I think credible messengers with our shared life experiences, they can identify with us. They believe, they know that they can overcome as well because they've seen us push through different things, through the traumas of our life, through the systems as these young men have already explained, is that we're able to walk alongside them and co-navigate that life plan with them and help them get to the other side. And so we are some trusted people in their life because they can tell us things and we can help them navigate through those challenges, whether in the community or whether they're in secure facilities. And so that's what I believe as the trusted individual in their life, is that we can also identify with them.
Brandon, you talk about some of the biggest challenges that you face during rehabilitation and reentry. How do you help those folks navigate those challenges?
Well, for me, I'm gonna be honest. When I made my re-entry back into the community, I didn't really have no struggles as far as re-entry was concerned, because this is nothing more powerful than a made-up mind. So I had made my mind up long before what I was going to do, what I needed to do, who I needed to surround myself around, where I needed to be. So, as they say, who, what, when, where. I mean? Those questions were already answered. So for me, I didn't struggle, but I understood where a lot of people struggle with. And part of that started with their, did they have employment before they got out? So was they able to go to work with us? Did they have a job? Because see, I had a job when I came out of prison already. So that automatically, my foot, boom, first day, I already have a job. So now what I tell brothers is that you should be trying to get work release. Shouldn't be just sitting around the jail, working within the jail, not coming out if you're eligible to come out. So employment is I can say is a big part of people re-entry process, going back and what's the word? Recidivism rate, because of not being able to find gainful employment and then not knowing the right people to be around. Because when we was in the streets, those type of people, we weren't going to find no job training, no job information around those same people. So if you were still hanging out with those same old people, places and things, you wasn't going to know what was going on in the present time. So, that presents a gap. And we know wherever there's a gap, problems exist. So, just for me, just helping to close that gap is to get people employed before they get out, or just once they get out, have a good situation where they can get to.
Son, how about you? What are some of the biggest challenges that you see youth facing when they're trying to re-enter the community?
I would say the biggest challenge for me, though I was determined, like Brandon here, was employment. Also kind of extended from myself. I was blessed enough to return and go home to my dad, who had a nice house and a nice community, him and his wife. So they took me under for a while. But I think one of the biggest deterrents for people is most people are returning back to very negative and hostile environment where they are surrounded by guns, violence, drugs, anything and everything that the street life may entail. So that is a big deterrent, and if one isn't determined within his heart and mind, because you're not tested. A lot of people go to prison and at least externally enter into a new trajectory. But, that number that does that, there's a minority within that number that actually stay the course. And it's because of such matters such as what we bring into you all's attention. A lot of them going back to the same environment. And if you don't endure a hard change, it's easy to ignite that old nature, that has adhered to that certain lifestyle. But employment for me, it took a while. But I've come to understand if a man don't work, a man don't eat, and a man has to eat to live. So I knew that God had a job for me some way, So I began to search, and actually how I landed my first job is very ironic. Because my dad's wife, car alarm, she worked at the Hilton Hotel downtown. It wouldn't go off for some reason, just kept beep. And that's really ultimately what led to my first job. I was applying myself. I was going to the resource centers. I was doing everything that was expected of me. And I prepared myself before transition. And I took up a vocational trade and HVAC just to have something to fall back on if I needed that. But anyway, I was seeing these gentlemen and ladies downtown, they had these uniforms on, and I asked them, I pulled up one of the guys, I said, man, what is it that y'all do? And they had 2 units. I don't know if y'all familiar with the commercial they used to say, see you around downtown, see you around downtown. But they have a navigation team and they have a cleanup team. So the guy I was talking to, he was actually a supervisor, and he was part of the cleanup team. And that landed me my first job ultimately, but it took a while, and I was consistent and I was seeking. Notice what I said. I poured him up, and it led to me getting a job. But the biggest barrier is, once again, environment is very detrimental to one's well-being when they are released if they don't have a healthy environment. And that also deals with the domestic sector too, not just the neighborhood things. There's a lot of dysfunctionality within a lot of individuals' domestic sector. And it when that's not healthy, you look for relief. So you come home from prison, going back to dysfunctionality, and you just trying to cope with all this. So, and also employment. So I say they the 2 biggest deterrents. that can lead one back to and cause a breach.
Just for clarification, you want to know the challenges I faced or you faced?
Young people.
Young people. Biggest challenges young people face returning to it's not, of course, what would be the same problem that led most of them to the person in the first place, the home environment. If the home environment is not stable, it's not productive. It could be a father who's in prison. It could be a mother who's unemployed. It could be parents who are on drugs. It could be multiple siblings in the home, right? So stability of the home environment is not just a lot of times the greatest contributing factor to the criminal behavior that repeats them, but it's also the greatest challenges that they face when they're coming out, because most of the people we touch who are in DJS, I'm from DJS, right? That's why we do a lot of wraparound services with them, because in supporting the families, right? Because like one of our young guys has 9 siblings, right? And mom just can't feed them, so we deliver groceries to help her feed them, right? Just so the stability of the home is the biggest factor, not just needing to come home as well. If the individual is not developed mentally enough in himself, right? And we do a lot of mentality work, what we call changing the criminal mentality that's in it. The tendency to resort to criminal behavior to address problems, specifically part, right? Filling out job application resumes, being around people who are familiar with employment processes and stuff like that. So I'll leave it at that. But the greatest challenge from my experience and what I've witnessed is the home stability. If we can get them in a stable environment, like some we've had to not even send them home because it's the same atmosphere that led them there in the first place. So we do relocation. Literally, the mayor's office of employment, look, we need to relocate this. Just can't bring them back home. Not just maybe because of the family, but also because of the charge they're letting there. So it's just creating that environment, stable environment that allows them to be successful. It's not that they don't want to be successful. Sometimes I think just circumstances are what they are in their reality. So if you don't change the mentality, you only have one way of addressing it and dealing with it. So it's giving them the tools mentally to see that you can navigate with bad circumstances. You can navigate around bad parenting, bad environments. You can navigate around, but we have to give them the tools to do it. And sometimes a stable environment is at the core.
And I would just add safety and sustainable resources. A lot of times safety is a barrier. Being able to find those sustainable resources for them if they can't travel to and from because of safety concerns. Just like Brother Muhammad stated, just kind of being able to navigate through some of those resources and getting them there, coming back into the home environment. And some of the ways that we help them navigate through it is you can't Uber them everywhere. Credible messages do transport them to and from a lot of those places, help them fill out those applications. We definitely there in the middle of crisis, but the environment, safety concerns, and sustainable resources for them and their families. Some of it is temporary, maybe literacy issues to the reason why they can't, and being able to help them navigate through some of those things. Applications become frustrated for them because they can't fill it out, as well as for some of the families. And so I say being able to cut some of the red tape, providing some opportunities for them to earn, just like we are able to thrive with the stipend program. I think that we treat that as employment, right? You do the things that you're supposed to do in the program, you earn your stipend. And so that kind of gives them the motivation, but it also cuts some of the red tape while we're trying to help them gain employment and change their mindset as we're spoken here today.
Thank you. And Brother Muhammad, can you pass the mic back? So Keisha, I'm going to stick with you and change gears a little bit. So we've mentioned a few different challenges that young people face when they're returning to the community. Can you talk about the kind of day-to-day support that's being provided by Credible Messengers, and how do you triage? How do you make a decision about what needs to be addressed first?
Ooh, it's like an emergency room. Right? You triage it kind of like an emergency room. So day to day, one-on-one mentoring is happening. Group sessions are happening. Pro-social activities are happening, right? And so you do kind of triage it like an emergency room based on the Credible Messengers caseload. And so you know the safety risks and concerns, you know who you can bring them together based on the either what was sent over in a referral or because of your shared life experience, you know what's going on in the communities, right? They're culturally competent to know that who can be together, who cannot be together in those spaces. And so if they're not in school, clearly our data looks like trying to get them enrolled along with case management, probation, all of the parties that are involved with that young person who's trying to get them enrolled there. If it's not that they're in school and they're completed school, is employment. And so working with them, soft skills are very, very, very important for our young people. So we're constantly working on soft skills, maybe mock interviews, using the buddy system, which is very important with our friends, people that we know, liaisons in spaces where it is that we can kind of get them gainfully employed. And so that's what kind of like day in the life look like, depending on the Credible Messengers caseload, depending on the young person's background and what is going on for that particular week. And so as much as those life skill groups, and we're working off literally their life plan, those things that they are saying that they want to do with their parent, caregiver, their DJS, case manager, or probation officer, that youth, and the Credible Messenger. So they're building that plan together. The whole ecosystem is building it together. And then we're kind of checking it off the box of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And we're using action steps to get there. And we're co-navigating with them. So we won't impede them as well. So we're helping them through that process. But that's what a day in the life kind of look like, and how we are supporting them and collecting that data kind of tells the story, and ways that we can kind of beef up in certain areas for certain situations.
Yeah. Brandon, could you talk about kind of what the day in the life looks like for you when you're with a young person?
Yeah, so she said it. I mean, but definitely said it. She said it. But understanding, remembering that the client or the resident, what kind of, where you at with it, but they don't know what's best for them a lot of times. They believe they have it, they have put together a plan in their mind. Like I was talking with one yesterday, and he was telling me about things he had in place in his mind, but he was like, it ain't go that way. You know what I mean? He like, yeah, I had the best plan, that's why I hit you up 3 o'clock in the morning, because I thought it was gonna go this way, but then now it ain't go that way. And so, but just having group operations, everybody together as a collective, that's very important, because, if you have the same, a lot of group of people saying the same thing, but they hear it in different kind of ways, then that, just can help impact a person's mind and penetrate their brain, because it's repetition. They continuously hear it. They hear it over there. They're like, hey, this making sense. So, and the more times they hear it, maybe it will begin resonate with them. Because I can remember as a young man, dealing with when I was in prison early on, you dealing with cell buddies. And, for instance, you may have an older person that's your cell buddy. He trying to, hip you to things that you maybe don't remember, knowing that they was right. But I say, I'm not going to tell them that they, you know what I mean? I know they right. I know that makes sense. I know I should be doing this, but I'm not going to let them know at that time, because, the pride and the ego is, as a young man, you just don't want to give that up. So just understanding that when you're dealing with the you know, just being aware of what you may have went through and how they may be coming up the same way. So just using that team to help get that message through versus just coming from one vessel. So I just think that it's an everyday thing and just staying on the ground with them, because sometimes if you get too high in the sky, you don't know what's going on the ground. So for me, I try to stay on the ground so I can know what's really going on and how I can be best effective to help them out.
Okay. So same question, Mr. Azan, and can you talk a little bit too also about like how do you work with youth? Are you meeting them in person, calling them on the phone, are you getting texts from them? What's happening at 3 a.m.?
Lord. Working in a hospital context is kind of look different. You know, we deal with adolescents all the way up to, you know, we service everybody now. We do that with 3 specialists. So it's a little different. So when we connect with the peace department with some of our youth after they come in from an injury, you know, it's complicated, you know, because you come in those burns sometimes, they so young and undeveloped, you know, and being in trauma informed, you know, you can see that they've been through a lot. You know, a lot of people we deal with, they are on the level of complex trauma. Trauma on the basis that most of them complex. Innumerable experiences that led up and now they're here for a gunshot or severe assault. So that's just, it keeps piling up. You know, but our main thing is, you know, what we do, we have to connect with them. We have to connect, and that's where the relatability comes into play. You know, because we got to identify who they are, whether good or bad, and their situation, you know, to make sure they're safe. So basically, as we identify with them where they are, you know, we have an equity-driven program. We do not come in with our agenda. We do not come in, you know, want them to do what we think is right. That's why we have to find out so much about them so we can connect with them where they are, and hopefully their optimism bring them up. So at the bedside, we encounter basically, you know, those that are most impacted by social determinants of health. So we are dealing with the embodiment of the ramifications of those conditions at the bedside. So we find ourselves addressing some of the most fundamental things. You know, a person may not even have an ID. 15, 16 years old. I dropped out of school when I was 13. A lot of these kids aren't in school. So a lot of times we got to start there. You know, so that requires a connection with the family, the mother. I like to say father, but unfortunately, most of our population are raised by single parent women. You know, so that's the lack of structure, masculinity, and discipline. A lot of times, you have some great women and some great mothers out there, but a mother cannot be a father, vice versa. You know, so they lack that a lot. So we have to connect a lot of times with the family. You know, making sure the environment that they're returning back to is safe. Let's start right there. And if it's not, you know, we have other partners. You know, we work with Marcy, we work with Rover, we work with a lot of CBOs and CPIs in the community to get the needs and the aspirations of our population met. So, you know, sometimes they may be going back to an unsafe environment. So we have to make arrangements to get them in a safe environment, number one. And then we have, you know, partners who also connect back with their school. Because a lot of times these young men and young ladies, they come in, the school may not even be aware of what happened, or they're not regarding what happened. Surprisingly, it's that sound. You know, so we have to make sure that bridge is connected so they can continue that education, which is a lot because they just was injured while they're recovering, you know. So some of the supports we offer. Also, the young men, it's a certain age that you have to be to start work. But employment is something very big for our young population. It's because they come from poverty-driven homes. There's not a lot of money coming in, and they want things. They want to keep up with the basic people and things in life. So considering the population and what's going on in these environments, I think we have to find a way to give some positive and legit work for these young men. A lot of them are selling drugs. Your average working man is making more money than your average drug dealer. So a lot of people think they're doing it because they want to. It's not really that. It's just what's in front of them every day, what they see every day, and it's that allowed, from a very young age going up. And these are the type of things that have to be broken into to build these young men and these young ladies out. But employment is big, for our youth. We have to make a way for them to be able to make some money because they don't have a lot at home. That's just the reality of that, But I'm going to rest right there, so it could be a variety of things: education, employment, medical insurance, ID, so on and so on. So I just want to be here.
I'm so glad for this question, a day in the life. I'm gonna take the video and I want to send it to my boss. So he'll know what goes on in a day in the life. Right? Because I have 4 jobs, really 4. 2 of them are with one agency, but one of those jobs, of course, I work with the senior staff attorney at the ACLU of Maryland, real full partnership. Now, in that capacity, I utilize a lot of the resources and services from that agency in some of the work that I do. That's principally with adults coming home returning. So also I am the reentry director for WeAreUs. So that's principally for adults. But again, services and resources from those organizations and agencies, I just commandeer the use for the work that I do at once. Now, a day in the life, because 24 hours is not enough time. It's not. I believe that 24 hours is just not enough time in a day to get all of the work done. Because I lay down at 3 o'clock and I rise back up at 5 o'clock. I mean, this is every day. And principally, this was the youth from Baltimore, right? The manager of youth development at Booker T. Washington Middle School, right? Now that program is Monday and Tuesday between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. That's what I'm paid. Right? Monday and Tuesday, 4 p.m., 6 p.m., 2 days a week, 2 hours each day. But we run services and programs for that 30, 35 people Monday through Friday, and sometimes Saturday and Sunday. Just extracting resources from wherever we can find them to serve it, right? So the group programs, of course, 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., Monday and Tuesday, but we end up running those Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, different locations, different sites, all right? So those are the group activities, Monday through Friday, and if we have events with other organizations, we snatch them up on Saturdays, Sundays, take them to those organizations as well, just to get them active in different behavior, different stuff throughout the community. And then we have what we call touch points, where throughout the week, those are the group activities that only supposed to run Monday and Tuesday based on the funding that we have just for the program. But through our partnerships and collaborations, we snatch resources from everywhere we can find to run that along, because 2 times a week is just not enough. It's not, they have challenge. If we get them for 4 hours a week, 2 days a week, then you're not really doing it. You're not going to make an impact. And we learned that. So the more we have them with us, the greater impact we can have. So Monday through Friday, we run that. On the weekend, we snatch it, and we have the touch points where throughout the week, and we don't have them for group activities, then what we do is all of them have our phone numbers. We have all of their phone numbers. We have all of their parents' phone numbers. All of their parents and guardians have our phone numbers. So throughout the week, we're touching them in the home, right? And we're touching them in the school, because the largest part of their day is in the school. Most of the youth in local rebels are school age, between Furman, Templeton Elementary, Booker T. Washington Middle School. I work from 7 to 3. That's what I'm paid to do, 7 to 3. Juvenile Temple Elementary School, right? So I'm there, but Booker T. Washington Middle School is literally right around the corner. So if one of our 35 guys at Booker T. Washington Middle School is having a bad day at school, somehow the principal, the vice principal, the teachers over there calls me like, I need you to come get one of your guys. So I'm back and forth between two schools that whole 8-hour period, 7 to 3. And then after school, there's safe passage sites near the school that we're not responsible for running, but we show up just to get the students home safely. So after we get them home, now there are touch points in the home that we got to cover down on because we know the challenges that they're facing at the home, right? We had a parent that we just graduated 35 of them last week. We had a 42-week straight, right? We're breaking for the summer. We graduated a big event. So technically the program is over, but we're running the program still anyway, right? So it's just a wraparound services from group activities to touch points in the home, touch points in the school, 7 days a week nonstop. You have to stay engaged with them. The moment you lose them, lose contact with them, that's an opportunity for them to make a bad decision. So I mean, I don't know how we're doing it. I honestly, I don't. Some of these activities at the end of the week, I mean, like, I don't know how we did that. I mean, literally, I don't know how we got it done, but we got it done, and we just committed to doing it. We have a group of people that are committed to living the rest of their lives doing just that.
Thank you so much.
Can I add one thing that I think is important? I wanted to talk about, we also address mental health as well. The difficulty with that is the way our population views mental health when they hear that word or that phrase. You know, there's a stigma. It's not a thing where we could just tell somebody they need mental health. We have to kind of sell it to them because of the stigma. You know, a lot of people in the urban community, they think of mental health, they think about a yellow bus, to be honest, even though it's far from that. You know, a bus full of, development disability kids, something that's what comes to their mind, that's subconsciously. So it's a red flag that goes up almost automatic that we have to tear down in order for them to be receptive of the resources. And not just the young ones, we deal with also with their parents as well. So that's the difficulty of that, but we do extend it down and we have to pitch it to them in a way that they can see it for what it is, opposed to what the stigma tells them.
I got a good one for you, because I had that challenge too, and I too feel like that we all could use it, but I say wellness services to remove the stigma. You don't use mental health, wellness services. And so how I grab their attention is that their favorite rapper has a success coach and they have a wellness coach, and their wellness coach encumbers a nutritionist, a psychiatrist, a therapist. And so we will use wellness to remove the stigma, to kind of play the trick on the mental health, because we know exactly what is needed. Like, and so we need a wellness coach. So instead of him seeing a therapist, instead of she seeing a psychiatrist, she goes see her wellness coach.
Thanks for
Wonderful. Everything is great. Just be sure you have a captive audience online and they want to hear every word. So just make sure you're speaking directly into the microphone. I think that last round was great. I don't think there are any issues. Delegate Phillips is just asked that you speak directly into it. He's online and he said to please commend you on sharing your stories also. So keep doing what you're doing. Just be sure you're right there because they want to hear everything.
Great, we'll try to do better. Okay, so Keisha, can you talk about the partnerships that mean the most in terms of your work? So that be with schools, courts, obviously talking about different workplaces for young people, DJS, obviously. What partnerships make the biggest difference to what you all are doing?
From inception, from the time that referrals are received, that partnership is just click. It's the biggest and it's most important because we are working with them, who I consider as the parent. And then we're like the aunt and uncle kind of merge in this relationship, or the mom and the dad. It's we're broken home in this relationship. But I think it's the most important in terms of the ecosystem is that they trust us. These community-based organizations who have these shared life experiences, who have the passion and the care to support your young people that are in your care. And so for me, I feel like that is the biggest partnership, is to be able to refer a young person to me and trust that I care and trust that I have the vetted, passionate, experienced individuals that's working on my team, that's ensuring that our young people are being connected to services, making sure that families are whole, ensuring that our young people complete the program successfully. And so I would consider DJS one of our strongest partners. And of course, school. We do go to the schools, not just enrolling, but we check up on their grades, we check up on attendance, because we know that that is also foundational. It's keeping that basic education and understanding what their career path is and what their trajectory is for school, and understanding that there may be educational advocates that may be a part of their life, and so working with them as well, depending on their school track. So no longer doing courts and understanding why, but we are still there able to support them while they go in those pep talks, getting them ready and prepared, making sure that they are completing those things that probation is asking them to do, making sure that they are letters and that they are heartfelt letters that are coming from them and what they have learned. And so again, this explain in the partnerships and support, they do explain the ecosystem of everybody playing their part and how we work together for the success of our young people.
Excellent. And Mr. Wilson, same question. What partnerships matter the most?
Yeah, I'll go with BJS as well. So between We Are Us and BJS and Thrive. So with the Thrive program was specifically made up of those youth who were most susceptible to perpetrate a crime or had a crime perpetrated against them. So we get the worst kind of where nobody want to deal with. And so, because of their background, because of their charges, because of their home situation, because of their upbringing. So we get these youth, and it's like they the ones that nobody want to talk to. And those are the ones that we absolutely want to talk to. And we able to, no matter where they at, whether they on Penn and North, whether they inside of DJS, whether they inside of Hickey School, we able to go there, talk to them, relate to them, build them, and help them grow. And so that takes a special type of individual to get their attention. Because when we go in DJS, the baby buckets, as they call it, right? We going through the tiers. And so you go into a tier, the environment is you come into a tier, they looking at TV, they playing cards, they on the phone, or they just sitting in the day room doing nothing. And then here we come into the day room, and now we have 10 youth who we are able to potentially impact. So it's very important that we take that job serious, because these are the ones who may carjack someone. These are the ones who may rob someone. These are the ones who may go home and die today. So it's just very important that when we are in these spaces, we are engaging them and helping them to put a word on their mind that will begin hoping to transform them and move them. Just like the sun would strike the earth, our words are striking their mind and begin moving them. So it's just very important to just continuously put a word on that mind, because when you look at the seed, when the sun hit the seed in the earth, we don't know when it's going to grow. We don't know when it's going to germinate. And it's the same way with us. We don't know when that word that we give it is going to begin impacting their lives, but we have to continue giving the word anyway. And then different people, he may be watering that seed that I gave today. You know what I mean? Brother Anthony may be watering it tomorrow, but we just have to continue watering it. So I like being in those spaces with the DJS. And then also, before I close out, working with DJS, going into the system, working with Thrive, it made me want to do a group home myself, because I see that the gap, these environments that we spoke about, the environment's not good. So you have youth who part of the program who don't even have nowhere to go. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm like, this is a missing link in the chain. So now what I did, I started, in the process of finishing my group home, which is the redemption program, just based off of seeing a gap, seeing a need that we need to institute into the situation, because again, the environment in the home life is not right. So they coming with us and they hearing positivity, but when they going home, they don't have no food in the refrigerator. They don't have no lights on. They don't even have nobody who even care about them. So, environment is very important. And DJS helped me to see the bigger picture of what was going on and the need that these youth need.
Mr. Cornish, when you're trying to engage young people and their families, how do you do that work to make sure that they're connecting to other positive young people, they're connecting to their schools? You've mentioned work. How do you make that connection happen? How do you work with schools and work and other mentoring programs, perhaps?
Yeah, so we partner with a number of organizations. When it comes to our youth, our primary partners, I would say, is Roca and Monsi of the Mass Art. How we make that connection is basically when we meet the family and the injured individual at the bedside, we connect with them there. We see them every day until they discharge, except on weekends. But we see them every day, and that's the point, because we really establish a relationship so they can be receptive of that help. So we connect them every day. If the parents did, we connected with them as well. And we begin to share with them as we excavate out of them the needs, the aspirations, and the ambitions. We begin to, filter that in comparison to our resources. And then we will present certain resources. For instance, Roca addressed many things that the youth needs. They start with, they deal with the psychological aspect of our youth, the wellness, the mental wellness of our youth. They also address their environmental setting as well, to make sure they're in a safe and a healthy environment. And also, if the parent may need a job or want help as well, like I said, it just don't stop with the child. It tries to address everything from a holistic perspective. So as we share with them certain resources at the bedside, we allow them to decide if they want to be connected. And once that consent is made, we reach out to our resources, Roca particularly amongst, and let them know we got this individual, this is what happened, this is what they're going through, this is what they're going back to, and this is what they're looking to get help with. So as they transition and discharge back into the community, we don't wish them a farewell. Also, you'll be hearing from us very soon. So we may give them a day or two, depending on the need and what was established at the bedside. And, we reach out also to our partner to let them know they are discharged. Roca, I love what they do because they're very hands-on, such as we do. Roca, they go to your home. They knock on your door, so they're just not in what's going on. They're seeing what's going on, and they can more directly address the need. They may go in the house and don't see any food in it. They don't need that family to ask them, do they need food? They see they need food. There's no way to communicate with the young person. Police may have confiscated his phone, you know, even though they may have been victimized, they may have took the phone. So they may extend to the person, the young man or the young lady, not the young lady, broker actually. And that's another deterrent too, because we have a lot of programs out here, but it's these criteria. Got these criteria, you know, for broker, they just deal with all males. You know, when our sisters out here, they need help too. And there's programs that's for them, but these the barriers that sometimes we go through as well. You know, so I just want to be accurate with that information. But so they address, so we kind of monitor that whole thing. As a specialist at the hospital, my work is not done. I have to monitor, make sure the resources doing what they supposed to do, because all the time the resources don't work the way they supposed to, and it could get very frustrating, you know. So we continue to monitor that, and a lot of times I work particularly with a lot of my youth. I mentor them from the hospital concept. So I got a young man, just for example, he just, after he was injured when he was 16, very resilient young man, went back to school. He just graduated Monday, got it on live, you know, intends to go to vocational training next. You know, but I still mentor him. I still bring him up to the office. We talk about what's going on in the community, talk about what needs to be done so you can continue to be resilient and overcome these deterrents, you know. So the mentoring, the life coaching, it continues, you know, after discharge. So that's pretty much, you know, a basis as to how we connect our people to reliable resources and how we keep that connection preserved.
Before you pass the mic down, I do have one question. So what percentage of time do you get to that yes at the bedside? So you're saying you're working with the family and they're making the decision if they want to work.
It makes me proud. 99.9, something like that. We don't get too many no's. We really don't. And that's bona fide truth. We don't get too many no's. And it's all about our approach. We come in there, we show them we care about them, and people sense genuine.
Yes.
You know, we are genuine about what we do.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Mohammed. How do you engage families or connect young people to positive community spaces like school, work, other mentoring programs, etc.?
Great question. So the work we do in Baltimore Brothers is on the prevention side. We call it upstream work. We work upstream, meaning at the hand of the root source, which is the home literally for us. So we engage the family. You can't even get into our program about us literally engaging the family, your guardian parent first, to see what that circumstance is. What does that look like? Because we know it will ultimately affect our mentorship over the youth. So understanding that the root of this village that's required to raise this child, the root of it for us is the parent. It's not, we're not the root. Right? And that's where somewhere on the branches, right? And we try to repair, heal, restore the root as much as we can, because that's the greatest source of time with us. We're at the home. So from the home, we understand that this child, when he leaves the home, he's going to school. That's just a natural selection process. So we partner with the school, with where he's going. And he's going to spend 8 hours a day of his life until he turns 18 in a school. So we build those bonds and relationships with the principals, vice principals, teachers, they adults, first day basis. All of the juvenile program. They have our numbers on speed dial. So the moment they're off track, we have that report. We know about it. We're able to make corrections there. So from the home to the school to the community. After school, he's going in the community somewhere. He's going to have some friends. He's going to have some place that he hang out, be at in the community. So we work with a lot of community organizations, right? It's one big network, one big village, right? So in understanding those three dynamics, home, school, community, be able to track them throughout a normal day, throughout a normal week, from point A to point B. And Baltimore City is small, so there's literally nowhere they can go where we don't know somebody, right? And I mean, the program is so popular now, there's literally nowhere they can go where somebody don't already know them, right? And I got one of you guys over here, right? He's acting up outside. And then those partnerships are able to help in the village context of actually raising. So, I mean, in terms of that partnership, it's critical because none of us can do this work alone. There's no one individual, no one organization, no one home that's going to be successful in raising children today. I mean, you need help. And it's because if you're sending them to school and the school is uprooting everything you gave them in the home, or you send them after school out into the community and he's connected with some friends that's leading them in the wrong direction. So, I mean, it's just understanding that to do this, it takes that village. And having the key core parts of the village, understanding that we got to work together in this to save this one person's life until he gets it here in his own mind, where he can start making his own decisions in his own best interest. It's the parents, it's the school, it's the community job to navigate them through all of those challenges. And it's unfortunate that this generation of young people are experiencing stuff that we never had to experience. They are experiencing traumas at early ages that we just didn't have to navigate, right? So that mental health component, we've just added and bringing in some professionals because we got a lot of people whose mothers gone, these young people whose father's gone, who need that bond, that relationship. So that just understanding that we gotta work just one person together and just whatever resources we can extract, we can pull together to serve him. That's what we try to do as best we can, but we try to get them before they make that contact with DJS, right? And of course, we have some that we get after the fact, right? Because we make contact too late in their lives, and we navigate. We have a process for that as well. But I mean, we personally, like we're down into the elementary school, right? And navigating them from this elementary school to this middle school to that high school to get them where they need to be.
Thank you very much. So I'm totally have like 10 minutes left. So I think if we could end by sharing an example of time when we were able to reach or really support a young person in a meaningful way. Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of stories.
Yes, a lot. One good story. How can I choose one? We had a young person who unfortunately was adopted. The adopted parent to turn the sender, no longer wanted to help. We partnered with every property branch with DJS as we tried to do our own crisis center hotlines, and as you know, if you're certain referrals that have to take place, CPS, so I'm not sure what you call it. CPS, CFSA, okay. And so ultimately, through this ecosystem, through what we shared, he was able to get placed. But I've never seen as where the brand said, like, this gap in space of independent living. He completed school. He had a job. He had everything that we are working to get other young people to obtain. And he had those things. And so all he needed was a healthy home. And being 16, 17 years old and not able to be emancipated or being as a part of the system, the young man was able to get placed, get the supportive services, was able to get to and from work. And I'm talking about the wellness services he was adamant about giving him. He was commendable when it came to what he knew about systems, unfortunately, because he traveled through them. He knew the responsibility of what should have played and supported him. And he just was honest and brilliant about what he needed. And so we really wanted to help him to achieve those extra things now placed in well, but he was adamant. And so we're team. And again, I think our board with every department, that's IBJS, and everybody just kind of came together. And cut that in. Today.
Same question, Mr. One.
So I just want, so I had, just two young men right now, they've been in DSS, they've been an assistant for maybe 5, 6 years now. One of them is 16, one of them is 16, and one of them is 19. And, you know, when they came, you know, so being in the system from different placement to different placement, you know, I mean, that's traumatic. You know, we're talking about a 16-year-old who's been in there, you know, since he was about 10, and then a 19-year-old since he was about 12. I mean, me personally, I couldn't even imagine growing up like that. But, you know, just hearing them say how the lad that they came in contact with, and, you know, now that they feel like they, you know, have a stable environment, you know, that's like powerful for real, because, you know, not knowing what they've been through and how they had a lack of trust for individuals, but they are putting trust in you and sharing things with you of their upbringing and of their experiences. So, I mean, just for me, just two young men who I'm dealing with every day, who I talk to every day, who I see every day, is right now, and they just, you know, showing, and mind you, and I just want to say this point, you know, a lot of times, you know, when a person comes to a facility, you know, people look at a piece of paper and begin judging them off what's on paper. Now, when they came in, the paper didn't come. So I had to begin writing the script in real time. And so just seeing the effect of just really giving love and support and being there and to see their transformation. And really now, what you see in the paper, you never even seen, you know, it just lets you know you're doing a good work. Because what was on paper, not even relevant today. So it just shows how if the right individual or individual is placed in the right environment, then that environment can begin helping and growing that individual. But if you place that same individual in the wrong environment, then, you know what I mean, you can have a totally different situation going on. So just being able to have a secure environment, and me myself being at the top of that, you know, helping two young men grow and develop, man, that's the story that I just wanted to share.
Awesome. Thank you.
I guess I would allude to two different. One I mentioned earlier, and his success story. You know, it's still a long way to go, but he has taken great leaps. And the young man I was telling you about injured when he was 16, 17 years old, in school at the time, surrounded by a lot of negative false family members. Good mother at home, I like that, but just brothers, cousins, just a lot of, you know, bad influences, you know. And one of the biggest things that I worried about was the retaliatory aspect of this situation, knowing he had these negative voices, you know, that he was surrounded by. He was going back to a very hostile community as well. One of the project communities that still exists in Baltimore City. It's not too many projects left over in East Old West, but he resided in one of the ones that's still there. So I had great concerns because actually I grew up in the same community that he was from, and I knew what was over there and what he would be up against on a daily basis. You know, so for this young man, number one, not to retaliate, for this young man to be receptive and to see clearly that that route wasn't the best, that still was a way for him to overcome this situation of him being shot, you know, in a positive way was possible, you know, and fast forwarding for him to graduate. And I've been talking about it all week. I'm happy for the young man. I say, man, you know, overcame really probably the most difficult thing you're going to be faced with in your life. I don't know. To get shot so young, to be in such a hostile neighborhood and to finish high school, and to have ambitions to go into a trade. I said, that's major, man. 18 years old, time 21, you make more money than me. Keep the course. You know, but that was one thing I'm very proud of. And the other is, you know, this, you know, this America, we are in a very microwave-driven society where we expect things to happen quickly. And I got a saying that I held on for many years, and this will help me get out the streets myself. If it comes fast, it won't last. Get it slow, it's bound to grow. You know, and I think we need to embrace that more because the things that we are addressing, it takes time. This is not a microwave work, short term, long term, and a lifetime. There's everything else but short term, this work we are doing. So I have this young man I've been working with for a while, and a lot of our people, granted, they are still straddling the fence, you know. And these are the ones we want to work with because these are the highest risk, you know. But once again, just because somebody don't receive the help the way we want them or think they should receive it initially, or even over a period of time, don't mean, you know, there's no hope for that individual. So this young man, I've been following for at least a year now, and he finally got to the point. He already got one job. The issue is I would see him in the community, and I knew he still was doing things. And I never judged him. Spoke to him on how you doing, what's up. I say, boy, that's why you need to get 2 jobs, man. I say, man, and understanding that your average hustler does not make more than your average working man. That's to my benefit and how I engage individuals because they can see it too. They're not making a lot of money. I say you better off getting another job. You got legit, stable, consistent income, and you don't have to worry about losing. So speeding up to this day, he took a test to get into, I think, DPW warehouse distribution, and he failed it. And I was able to pull from my lived experience because when I went to prison, I was reading on the 3rd grade level. It's not that I was not smart or didn't have potential. I dropped out of school when I was 13. I didn't read a book in years. You know, and I shared that with him, even though it was my vulnerability, I shared that with him because I needed him to understand, brother, you ain't stupid. And I don't use those terminology, but you got potential. It's just you probably been out the game for years. And I said, this is what you do. Because when I took the test to get in college, I failed. And I went back to my teacher and said, well, how many I need to pass? What I need to study to meet that quote. And I was able to pass that same information to him, man. Gave us some books and we asked those questions. We asked the instructor, what is needed? And she told us on the GED's practice test, the part he needed to focus on to pass that test. So not only did he pass the test to get into DPW, he changed his mind and shifted. He wanted to go into the plumbing, and you have to have a higher score than that to get into that. Long story short, he passed and he started plumbing in college. So he's trying to get 2 jobs. So he can shut up for that block. Have that legit income.
Impact story, that'll be brief. Last week, Booker T. Washington Middle School had its 8th grade graduation. And at least a dozen of the people in that 8th grade graduating class are in the Baltimore Brothers program at that school. So during the program, Principal Ford played a video clip of all of the 8th grade graduates when they first arrived at Booker T. Washington Middle School from 6th grade. And she showed clips of them from 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And a lot of those clips were 12 of our youth who were in that graduating class that we had in the 6th grade, we had in the 7th grade, we had in the 8th grade, and we'll have moving on into whatever high school they're going into the 9th grade. So the impact story for me is sitting there watching the work through the transition of the years, that it takes time, it takes patience, a lot of hard work, sacrifice to get youth where we need them to be. It's not a quick fix, right? But you got to be committed through the long haul. And just watching that video clip and some of that young guys that we had for years, just watching them cross a marking point in the finishing line. That's an impact story for me because I know what happens when we don't get them across the finish line. So firsthand, how that story looks. So just watching, achieve that marker, and seeing the light in their eyes, know that they can do this. That's an impact for me.
Thank you all both.
So we want to open it up to questions, if folks have some questions. Do you guys want to maybe pass the mic? You can take it out of the stand. Yeah.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I got 2 questions. Sorry. I'll ask. One of the things that struck me about this was that I think there's a misconception that being a credible messenger is just about having this shared lived experience, and everything you just talked about suggests that that's like the starting point, right? And I'm just wondering if you can talk about that, because like clearly what you just described is something that goes well beyond just that. And I imagine there are plenty of people over time who have the shared lived experience, but who could never do this job, because this job seems like so much more than that. I just feel like that is something in the language that gets lost, and I'm just wondering if perhaps you could say something about that.
And in addition to your question, the flip side of your question is that most people have the misconception that a credible messenger is a person that has to have the lived experience of incarceration, which is not the case. Like, there are very credible messengers on our staff who have never been in prison, right? So just understand, credible just means that you have the skill set, you have an ability to reach a young person with a message that can change their lives. Now, for particular categories and groups of people who have already experienced and touched DJS, naturally a person with that lived experience will have a much easier task in communicating if that person has learned from the lessons of his experience. Because as you so well articulated, I mean, there are a lot of people who've been in prison who haven't learned those lessons that I wouldn't set in front of a young person any day of the week. So it's just knowing the balance between who's really credible, in a sense. Like, not everybody who's been to prison and had that lived experience is credible. And not every mentor who hasn't been to prison and haven't had that lived experience is credible either. So it's identifying skill sets in the individual. Like, what can you contribute to help us improve the quality of life of young people? So credible goes beyond that.
And just to add what Mr. Muhammad is saying, I think the main disposition of the credible messenger that is mentioned a lot is, I like to describe us, to be honest, it's like we're hybrids, and the hybrid part is we still embody those experiences. And that's one of the ways we're able to relate and connect. It's still there. The thing is, we've learned how to control it. We regulate it and doesn't allow it to regulate us. But the hybrid aspect is twofold. That is still there, but we also have established for ourselves a body of work that echoes positivity and legitimacy. That's the part of the credible message that a lot of people don't get. We have a former body of work that we're not proud of, but we have a new body of work stemming from when we was dealing with the consequences of our old body of work. So we began to change, when we was designated and consecrated, I would call it, from society. And we began to establish a new body of work. And because it was legit and it was genuine, it was able to be sustained once we was released. And it only grew greater, and greater. So we have that to stand on, and that's how we're able to connect. The lived experience is just the beginning. But when they see people who may have been in the streets, or as Mr. Muhammad said, may have never experienced, but they can speak to it, they've been around it, and they can share how they was able to navigate and how we were able to navigate after spending so much time. Brown brother, gold teeth, working at Johns Hopkins Hospital. That means something to somebody. When they see somebody look like them who's usually stereotyped and is doing something successful, it gives them hope. So it's really the lived experience is the beginning. It's the body of work that they are seeing and that they can attest to right before their eyes and give them the motivation of going to a different trajectory.
Other questions?
I'm going to say it, and maybe you can just repeat the questions so we don't have to run around. So when you all spoke to our work group, we were so impressed with what you all are doing. I'm just wondering what you think decision makers, whether that is or legislators, need to know about your programs and what support you guys need to do more of what you're doing.
Well, I would just say, because
can you just repeat the question?
The question that you said?
Just so people online can hear it.
Okay.
What support do you need? You can sound what support do you need?
So I'm responding to what do I wish decision makers understood about this work and what will help strengthen or expand credible messenger programs across Maryland. I would say I think people need to understand that social determinants of health is not a propaganda. Systemic racism, institutional racism, lack of accessibility, quality education, quality health care, dysfunctionality within the home, domestic setting, within the neighborhood, negative, hostile environments. This stuff is real life. And we encounter at the bedside the embodiment of the ramifications of these conditions. And this stuff takes time, and not just resources, but equitable driven resources that are tailored particularly for our community. That's what I would say to decision. This is my home.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so it's from the most important question of the day. All of them are big questions, but this one is probably the most important because sometimes, like Brandon mentioned something earlier that I think a lot of the decision makers don't get. Like the higher up the ladder you go, the harder it gets to see the ground, right? And we have a lot of people who are at the top making decisions for people on the bottom with absolutely no reality of what's happening on the bottom. And thankfully, and let's take Baltimore City for example. That's a 10-year period, right, in Baltimore City, 8 years, where the city brought in, the city recorded over 300 homicides a year, right? That 8-year window, notorious years. And then here comes a guy in their Brandon Scott who decided, now that didn't work the last 8 years. We got to do something different. And at the root of his decision is the fact that I can't do this alone, right? So he decided I'm going to involve what I think is the most important component in the solution, the community. The people who are literally on the ground, right? And he has involved community organizations and set them at the table and said, what are you seeing? What are you experiencing? How can I help you from up here making decisions? And not just that, but I'm gonna give you these little bit of dollars that I got that can help you do that work. Right? And as a result, over the last 3 years, you have historic reductions in homicides and non-fatal shootings. Historic. 50-year low rates. And speaking for Baltimore Brothers, we are us, the people who are literally in the community every day of the week. We are saying we can do way more than this if we had the funding and the resources. You gave us crumbs from the table. We appreciate it because it helps us do the work. But we are saying we can save generations of young people if you put your money where your mouth is and help the people who have demonstrated that we have the record of success, that we can do this. And there's just too many decision makers who will applaud us, right? There's too many decision makers who will say, man, y'all doing a wonderful job. I love the work y'all doing. But when it's time to say, man, we need a van to transport 50 children from one location to the next. We need funding to help pay this person's gas bill so that our son don't think that he has to sell drugs to keep the gas and electric bill. Simple stuff that, I mean, we shouldn't have to fund that. Bro, I need $500 out of your paycheck this week to help old John's mother not get evicted. That shouldn't be his responsibility. So it's the people at the top. I mean, look, this stuff takes funding. It takes finance. That's just the reality of it. And we are bootstrapping it from places that sometimes I be like, I don't know where he got the funding to do that from. Like, I don't know who he called, but we're managing it. But if we had the funding to say we're gonna hire 25 people just like me, right? We can save the city, literally. We can, if we had the funding to take 10 people like me and put them in your 10 worst schools throughout the city, 8 hours a day, and pay them for doing that. But the reality is, Brandon has a day job. So, his services to young people is limited by it. But we can say, Brandon, this is now your day job. 8 hours a day, doing what you do and serving young people. We can impact more people. And that's just the reality of it that, we don't talk about a lot because, we just gonna do the work, whether we get the funding or not, we're gonna do the work, right? Like for the program started in 2015 after the Freddie Gray riots. It wasn't until maybe 2023 that the program was even funded by anybody, right? So we're talking years of just us bootstrapping. But if we had the funding, we could have eliminated the 8 years of homicides a lot sooner. So it's just understanding that this work takes funding, it takes incredible resources, and we need people who makes those decisions and say, I'm going to put this in the budget. I'm going to make this a priority item in the budget to help serve young people throughout the city. So that's just the point I want to add.
Go ahead, Frank.
And I just want to say, so I can remember while I was in prison, how it made me feel to see somebody come into the prison who was, who I could relate to, who was coming back for programming to motivate us to do better. Like, I'm telling you, like, it made me feel so good to see somebody who was once there come back and see them now teaching the masses or whatever it is they teach. Like, it made me feel so good to the point where though I would just think about that for weeks. Like, man, I'm fired up from that. You know what I mean? And so I remember those things that carried me. Like, and he was here, now he's back. And so I think that just the impact, because for those who may not have known, I was in prison with both of these men, right? Then him in the earlier stage when we was 19, 20, 21 years old, coming into prison as young men, trying to find ourselves, and this is in 2002, 2003 in Hagerstown, right? And now it's 2026, and me and him sitting next to each other on a panel, right? That's beautiful, right? And then, I met this brother, in 2010 in Roxbury when he had a life sentence, right? And I remember walking the yard with him, walking the compound, going to dinner, going to lunch, going to breakfast, and he giving me advice about how I'm going home. Now, he's not going home at the time, according to number, you know what I mean? But I have a number, so just think about the impact that we're able to go back into where we came from, just us three. We can start with us three. The impact that it will have amongst any prison in the state of Maryland, right? How motivating, how inspiring, how invigorating that would be to see us coming back, and there's many men like us. So I just think that has to be a part of the process, allowing the men who are doing the work to go back into these prisons and be able to inspire. If we're really talking about rehabilitation, that is part of the rehabilitation process. Seeing a man who was once in a condition and now he cleaned himself up and now he's coming back showing you what you can do, right? So I just think that is key. That is a key component. Letting men come back into all these prisons, whether it's juvenile, whether it's the adults. You know what I mean? I think that should happen on a large scale. Thank you.
So today I heard prevention, resources, investment. And what I would like to just add to it is the amount of money that the city would invest in locking a young person up. And the human resources that are here today, it's a walking by human resources that you can invest in to support our young people to go back and to support them by the in our family. And so when you think about the prevention efforts before you get there, when you think about while they're in and as they transition out to the community, I would like decision makers to know that the more investment that you put into the community to work alongside you, that you don't have to spend the billions of dollars for incarceration or murders, homicides in the city. So I'm going to ditto.
Thank you all so much.
So, you want to close the meeting for us, Aaron?
Sure. I'll close up the meeting and say thank you all so much for your time and for sharing your stories. We appreciate hearing all of this. And I think, and if there's no other business, we're adjourned.
One more thing. We need to approve the minutes of the last meeting now that we have a quorum. Do you move to approve? Okay, second, all in favor? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aaron.
It's the nice to meet you in person.
Thank you.